Chapter 13. Stalemate. Alright, time for a confrontation that I guess is not going to have any clear winners. It wasn't much longer before a small team of us left Cordis for what I could only assume would be some kind of confrontation with Endgame. I hadn't expected this to all end this way, though I wasn't sure I'd expected anything in particular. I had hoped to avoid a physical confrontation I wasn't prepared for. The situation with Brennan was sidelined for the time being as we focus on the current crisis, but we were all concerned he'd show back up at an inconvenient moment. And to say I was on edge was an understatement. This was Endgame. Despite their claims of not being a military organization, they were the most powerful fighting force in the entire system. And we were going up against them. My brain couldn't even grasp that. Forget being a fighting force. The court was barely even a faction. It had little organization, it was small, and made up of motley stragglers and refugees. All I could think was that my mum would be horrified with my current situation and many of the choices I'd made. I hadn't spoken to her once since all this started, and now, more than ever, I wish I had. After this was done, I had to fix that. But for now, I had to keep my focus on what was happening right now and not think about what my last words to Mum would be. I wasn't exactly going to my execution. We weren't even going up against all of Endgame. I kept telling myself that. Our group was about the same size as the one Jack said they'd be likely to send. We had 2 rooks, a knight, and 2 queens. He'd said they would most likely send a group made of 2 rooks, 2 knights, and 2 bishops. This is so chess-like, I love it. It was difficult to say who would have the upper hand if it came to blows. We could have brought more people, but with the concerns about leaving the court vulnerable, especially with Kesa there, we settled on what we had. It worried me, but as Jack pointed out, we had 2 queens and Endgame had none. Hopefully that alone sent a message. I might be inexperienced, but it was clear my abilities stretched the limits of how most thought about Psy. We should make the most of the fact Endgame seemed to be aware of that. Thus far, I'd focused on defense and theokinetics. That didn't mean I wasn't capable of more. I'd show them that if I had to. I might not be a trained fighter, but I had talent and the confidence to use it. I knew that hadn't convinced Jack. He hadn't even wanted to allow me to go, but I needed to make an appearance. I needed to make my ability known to them. Otherwise, they'd keep coming for me. They might do that anyway, but I had to show them I wouldn't go without a fight, and that it wasn't worth it to make me. So there I was, standing on an open street with the others while waiting for Endgame to show up. It felt like we were preparing for a street brawl. And to be fair, maybe we were. I doubted Chestershire was a stranger to those. It might be a stranger to the sort of fight a large group of high-level Espers could display, though. But as Jack said, the more attention we gathered, the more open it all was, the better it was for us. Using Endgame's reluctance to make dramatic shows of power, especially in Delphine, against them would only benefit us. We hoped.
Just remember what I told you about the people we'll probably see here. Caleb and Dane are both rooks. They'll require close quarters to be useful. Rowan and I will handle them.
Oh no, Jack, are you fighting Caleb? Stop, my heart.
Vanessa and Odette are bishops. They'll rely on telekinetic attacks, but we do need to be wary of mild psi bursts.
Please don't make me fight Vanessa. Please. Not Vaughn.
They'll focus on disabling, not doing massive damage. But Vaughn likes to get in there and fight hand-to-hand like a rook sometimes. I'll be able to handle them both myself. Especially Odette. I'm familiar enough with her skills to keep an eye on her. She used to be one of us, after all.
Oh? Really? That's interesting.
Good. Rooks and bishops don't make for a good match. Mara and Ari are knights. Mara's ability involves phasing through solid matter. She's less of a threat at long distances, but it's a pain in the ass when it comes to dealing with her up close. Carrie, we'll let you deal with her. Just keep her off everyone else's back.
Understood.
Morgan, Ari is the biggest problem for you. He'll probably head straight for you, and if he does, don't hesitate to fight back. Do not let him get close enough to touch you.
I gotta fight Ari of everybody? I mean, I didn't want to fight Vaughn. Couldn't I have fought Caleb? I don't have an attachment to him yet. I gotta fight Ari? Oh. Great. Fun. I can't wait.
His sphere is massive. He can get you to the other side of the planet in an instant.
I understand. I've encountered his teleportation ability before. What about attacks or disabling me? Because
They're here.
I expected them to arrive in a dramatic flash of light, but they just walked around the corner down the street, a group of 6 uniformed Espers that looked out of place against the backdrop of Chestershire. Caleb was the one in front, which didn't surprise me. The others were a step behind him, looking far too casual for what should have been a serious mission. Hi, Vaughn. I miss you. One woman peeked from around Caleb as they came closer, shooting us a friendly grin.
Hey, Jackie! Didn't expect you to come say hi personally. It's been a while, Vaughn. But I'm not here to say hi. I'm here to tell you to get the hell out of our territory. No offense. We're not leaving that easily. Not without doing what we came to do. And what's that? Ending the little show you've been putting on here. With all the Psi output from this area over the last few weeks, every Esper on the planet knows something big is happening in this sector. What happens in this sector isn't your concern. You know damn well that anything with Espers is our concern. Especially when the Espers in question are powerful and dangerous. We've ignored you people long enough. What the hell are you planning, gathering up this many ranked Espers? Including queens and a king. It's none of your damn business.
Caleb took a step towards us, but Vaughn set a hand on his arm. It surprised me that was enough to hold him back.
Look, Jack. You know better than anyone that we don't want to provoke Crimson. But the Council's been on edge about your king, and that promoted queen of yours for years. They've been more and more concerned about what the court is doing. We knew it was more than a group of weak infantry gathered here. And now you have a second queen. They won't ignore it anymore. I'm sure you can imagine what this looks like. Probably looks like we're gathering up a little army. Are you? No. We're just gathering up people who can make an actual difference on this side of the planet.
Hi, Ari. Please don't make me fight you.
You realize we can't allow you to continue. Not when we know there is something happening here. Something that requires a large output of Psi. Something that, according to the Moirai, involves a third unregistered queen rank.
I think I've read about all of these. The Moirai... yeah, they're the bishops. Basically the fates that look ahead. And then unregistered... yeah, the rogue Espers that fly under the radar. We've definitely read about all of this before. Okay, we're good.
Worried, now that it seems the balance of power is shifting away from you?
Hello, Odette.
This has nothing to do with Endgame. It's our problem, and we're dealing with it. It's our problem now, and we're going to be dealing with it going forward. What are you going to do? Arrest us all? It is within our authority to do so. You people really want a street fight in broad daylight. It's technically always night over here. Cute, Vaughn. But we won't let you have your way. We'll protect our own, even from you. And if you fight with a bunch of civilians from the slums, what do you expect will happen to Endgame's pristine reputation? We're apprehending a group of rogue Espers, not fighting innocent civilians. I think our reputation will be fine. Especially when one of those Espers is an F-class queen that escaped our custody a couple of months ago in New Albion, after being responsible for a dangerous explosion in that city.
I didn't do...
She's a refugee who escaped to Delphine when you attacked and abducted her off the street. Then almost got her killed. An upstanding prime-tier student whose life was ruined by Endgame. She's not a criminal. She's a powerful enough Esper we detected her recent activity from the other side of the planet. She was unregistered, and has become involved in 2 shady factions. I would say we're justified in trying to apprehend her. I wonder if the general public will agree.
I reckon you're overestimating how much the general public is going to know about the events here.
It's not that easy to control the narrative when our king has access to the same systems your king does.
I think Magnus will manage any potential information leaks.
I think Kesa might surprise you.
Were they just going to keep bickering? Because somehow I expected this to involve more punching each other and explosions. I didn't expect such a lengthy exchange of barbs from opposite sides of the street. I shot Veli a sidelong look. His expression was bored. Rowan was resting his chin on Veli's shoulder, looking equally done with this conversation. Such a mood. This is surreal. Or maybe it showed the reluctance of both groups to actually make good on their threats and turn this into something violent. But I didn't think we were making any headway trying to talk it out. I had the feeling neither side was willing to budge. Are you pointing at me? Because if so, rude.
You! Morgan Leone.
I snapped back to attention, focusing on the conversation again.
You know above all else we're here for you. So why don't you make this easy for everyone and get over here?
Just me. Really? If that's the case, why don't you come over here and get me? If I wanted to join Endgame, I wouldn't be here in the first place. Caleb let out a frustrated sigh, grabbing the back of his neck as he clenched his jaw. I had a feeling he was stopping himself from taking me up on that challenge.
We've been trying to avoid coming here and cleaning out the court. No one wants to put everyone here in our lockdown. But your presence here is making that difficult. I hope you realize you're putting everyone here at risk by staying. How about you keep your hands off her and stop trying to put all the blame on her shoulders? If we could do that, we wouldn't be here. Without her, Crimson was just Crimson. The court was nothing. And that other guy whose Psi signature we've been picking up would have been a normal criminal to deal with. But now you've got someone who is one of the most powerful queens on record, the only F-class we know of, sitting around waiting to do whatever you tell her. She's a wild card we can't ignore. The wild card is that other guy. If he hadn't got involved, Morgan wouldn't even be a blip on your radar. So maybe you should focus on dealing with him instead of people who are just trying to live, without having to be someone else's throwaway cannon fodder. And he's F-class too, by the way. This isn't getting us anywhere. Mara, let's arrest these idiots and be done with it.
Okay, here we go.
If you think you can, then try it.
You people never change, do you? You let this place fester for years, ignoring the struggling of the people in Delphine's slums. You ignore the corruption, ignore everything that's happening, until it's no longer convenient to ignore it.
You're the planetary defense organization, but that means everywhere but the night side, doesn't it? And now you want to waltz in and throw your weight around like it means anything.
But I have news for you, Kale. It doesn't mean a damn thing here. So if you want to pick a fight, do it. But Morgan didn't go with you before, and she's not going with you now. Morgan Leone, I'm sure you understand what will happen if you choose to resist. It will not be just you that is impacted. You are mistaken if you believe it is only the 6 of us here. We have 4 more teams poised to raid the place you call Cordis. Though we're aware you have ranked Espers there, we are also aware most of the Espers of the court are infantry, and many are not suited to combat. I do not believe you will prevail should we engage.
We had gambled on their not wanting to cause a major situation here, but it looked like we may have lost that bet. I mean, he could be bluffing. You don't know. He could be bluffing. Ugh, why were they willing to go all out for me? Because there were now 3 queens outside their control and they were desperate for at least one of them in their ranks? There's that aspect. There's also that you're the most powerful of the 3. What was I supposed to do now? If I go with you, you'll leave everyone else alone. Oh boy. The other queen rank here is the bigger threat. It's true. And I'm not going. I mean, Kale. I mean, okay, Jack called him Kale. Kale would probably be upset if I was like, I'm not going. And also be slightly turned on. I mean, this would appeal to Ari, but I'm not on Ari's route. I think I'm gonna have to go confident and just be like, look, it's Brennan. Brennan's a much bigger threat than anything you think is going on here. The other queen rank here is a bigger threat than I will ever be.
Then how do you propose we deal with him on our own? Whether any of you likes it, regulating the impact of Espers on society is a part of our job. And now some powerful loose cannon is running around doing as he pleases. Part of being able to do our job is maintaining an elite force that has the strength to deal with loose cannons.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there, huh? Because that guy wouldn't be a threat if you had put a stop to the experiments that made him who he is now. Your council can ignore that until there's a queen rank they think they can control, and now out of nowhere they care what's happening to people here?
We are not making an arbitrary power play. Our bishops look further ahead than you realize before helping our council direct our actions. They are the reason we'll be satisfied with you alone. It's not merely a control issue.
It was almost funny how not one of them looked convinced of what they were saying. Or maybe it was just sad.
Endgame has only ever been about control while maintaining an illusion of helping. No one here is going to entrust Morgan to a place whose morality and greater good depend on convenience. Jack.
Enough of this. I'm not going with you. I can't go with you. Crimson won't allow it.
You should never have got involved with Crimson. Maybe it's time we slap them down and remind them they're not in control of this side of the planet.
There's also the issue that, frankly, I don't trust you. I don't trust you to leave the court alone, even if I cooperate. I don't trust you to deal properly with Brennan either. He isn't someone who needs you to attack him and try to control him. If you confront him the way you're confronting me, it's just going to lead to tragedy. I don't need to look into the future to know that.
Kid, we've been doing this job for years.
All things considered, are you really interested in hearing a first-hand review about how well I think you do your job? I heard Jack snicker from beside me. Even Ari was like, damn. I mean, it's 1 star at best. Maybe even half a star. Is it possible to give no stars?
Should definitely be an option.
What about negative stars?
We didn't come here for entertainment. Leone, you can put an end to this right now if you want.
If your bishops have looked that far ahead, you should know what my answer is going to be.
Well, you're not wrong about that.
I couldn't be sure that was the right thing to do, but my decision wouldn't change. If I believed going to them would help, I'd have done it days ago. Weeks ago. Now, even if I tried to go with them, Jack and the others would stop me anyway. Uh-oh. The eyes are glowing. Here we go.
Ari, take her.
His sigh activated a split second before he vanished. Almost instinctively, I mimicked it. Woohoo! I was familiar with his teleportation technique, and with the warning Jack had given earlier, it wasn't difficult to predict what he was planning. When he materialized where I had been, I was already some 20 feet away. One of the 2 bishops must have realized what was about to happen because she was already bearing down on me. And that was when everyone else moved at once. It was exactly as Jack had planned it out. Belly positioned himself between me and the others, while Jack and Rowan headed for the 2 rooks. Carrie seemed to be focusing her efforts on the woman Jack said had a phasing ability. It was a blur of clashing bodies, shields, a few stray psychokinetic attacks. It left me and Ari to play teleport tag. He looked so kind of annoyed. Like, this bitch be teleporting around. It left me and Ari to play teleport tag while the others were busy with each other. Because he moved to my place behind Veli, only to leave it seconds later when Veli sent a small psyburst his way. As for me, I had already moved further from the fighting, then closer to it in an effort to dodge him once again. It felt like it would be a test of stamina, to see who tired themselves out first, because he would never catch me this way. If I focused, I could get a sense of what he was going to do a bit before he did it. So when he tried to overshoot and teleport to the spot he thought I'd flee to instead of teleporting to where I was, I avoided him with ease. The logical thing to do would have been to attack him, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Even when he tried to cage me in a shield as if that would stop me. There was a mild interference in my psi. For a fraction of a second, I was trapped, but that was easy to overcome. And now that I had seen that trick, he wouldn't be able to do it again. Keeping my sphere expanded to monitor everyone else and not end up teleporting straight into someone else's fight meant I caught the ghostly flash of Jack taking a knee to the face a few seconds before it happened. In a split-second decision, I changed course. I was at his side, yanking him back and tossing a shield up around us just in time. Nice girl, protect your boo. For a moment, I stood panting and trying to get my bearings as Caleb's knee made contact with the shield instead of Jack. I knew you and Caleb were gonna go at it.
Thanks.
I didn't respond. To say a six-way brawl between Espers was chaotic was an understatement. I could barely follow what the others were doing at any point. We couldn't stay where we were, so once again, I moved us down the street away from the fighting. A temporary reprieve for as long as it took them to figure out where we were.
This went to hell fast. It actually took far longer than I expected. Styx, glad you could join us.
Styx? Rude. First of all. Second of all, I just realized her teleporting is better than in Case's route and Ari's, because Jack did not puke after she teleported.
Can't you call off your attack dogs over there and just head back to Core Solaris before someone gets hurt? I believe we've already made it clear we cannot do that. I know you people aren't fighting seriously right now. I am equally aware that your people are not either. Otherwise, there would be considerable more damage to our surroundings.
I hate to interrupt, but I think Caleb noticed where we are.
Shall we continue our game of chase, then?
Or you could give up.
I see you've adopted James's sense of humor.
James?
I'm almost certain Ariel calls me that just to piss me off.
Your name is James? I love that. It was almost hard to believe we were supposed to be fighting at the moment. And it was sad, because these two had been close friends at one point in time. Why are things never simple? I didn't have time to contemplate that kind of deep question in the middle of a fight, though. In seconds, Caleb was practically on top of us. I would have to relocate myself and Jack to... Everything faded behind an explosion powerful enough to send us to the ground. Brennan, that you? At first I assumed it was just the others. Maybe Veli or one of the bishops. It felt like a large psyburst. It took out the corner of one building and sent up a spray of dust and debris. I scrambled to my feet, every hair standing on end at the familiar presence obscured by the dust. It's Brennan.
Shit! Ari, retract your psi and tell the others to do the same. This guy's mind bombs are dangerous. Who is... Do it, Ari!
The frantic edge in his voice seemed to do the trick. Ari went silent, and Caleb stood nearby pensively instead of taking the chance to attack.
The other queen rank.
Yes. Hello, there he is, with his golden eyes. My heart was pounding as Brennan emerged from the cloud of dust. The others had stopped as well. Brennan's presence was... different from others. Now that he wasn't concealing his sigh, it was dazzling white, swirling around him in a dispersed cloudy web, complex beyond any other sigh I'd seen. Ooh, I haven't actually seen Vaughn use her sigh before. Got them red eyes, cute. Cute and cool. There was a flash of movement and a shout that broke the silence. One bishop, the one Jack had called Vaughn, rushed him. Girl, you crazy! Some of the debris whipped itself off the ground, leaving dust whirls behind as she flung it at him. He made a sharp gesture with his hand, cutting off her sigh and disabling the projectiles. At the same time, his sigh flashed violet.
Stop it.
I wasn't sure what happened. Her eyes went wide as the lights in her prosthetic shut down. She would have hit the ground if one of the knights hadn't moved to her side to catch her in time. It was the assault on Vanessa that sparked Caleb's attack. Brennan threw him back like a rag doll, sending him headlong into a dented rubbish bin, something that might have killed a non-enhanced person. Sent him to the trash, eh? Caleb shook it off like it was nothing.
I haven't come here to fight, just to deliver a message. Because this isn't the stage I've set for everyone. What the hell are you talking about? I'll be waiting for you in Pythia. You'll find out when you get there. You may wish to hurry, though. I won't wait forever, and neither will everyone else.
Brennan, you don't... Jack, are you gonna recognize this person? Jack. Oh my goodness. I'm so nervous. Okay. He said something too quiet for me to hear, and a familiar figure emerged from the shadows. The woman from the vivarium! Jack, is that recognition? She set her hand on Brennan's shoulder and looked our way for a split second before they both vanished again. Right, teleportation. Wait, that was...
Sylvia?
Jack was rooted to the spot, staring at the space where Brennan and that woman had been. My goodness, how is Vaughn going to feel seeing Sylvia too? Because she was broken up about that. His face was ashen. So I was right. I hadn't made the connection before. I'd only met her the one time in person. The Sylvia I'd met was so different, and I hadn't been able to see her clearly.
Did you just say... Sylvia?
She and the others weren't far from us. The other woman was keeping her standing, as it seemed like her prosthetics were still inactive. As I looked around, I could see the slow realization hit everyone else.
How was that possible? Mara? How was that... Sylvia died. I was there! Her body was never found.
And Brennan can revive people using the nanosystem.
That's impossible.
Unfortunately, it's not impossible.
But how? How did that bastard get his hands on her? I don't believe we have time to contemplate that now. It appears he has something planned for Pythia. You know that shit is a trap, don't you? Of course it is. However, we cannot ignore the possibility of a threat.
I cast a careful look at Jack. He still looked to be in shock, but Ari was right. There wasn't time to contemplate the details right now. What were we supposed to do next? Brennan was... I didn't know what he was doing. Trying to help us? What could he possibly hope to accomplish? He was strong, but not strong enough to take on Endgame by himself. Then again, none of them were inoculated against his being able to take control. But if that was his goal, he didn't have to lure them to Pythia first. I don't understand. I glanced Jack's way again and knew there was no way we wouldn't follow. Sylvia... If she had died back then, there was no saving her. But was it possible she hadn't actually died? That's what I'm hoping for so badly. Was it possible there was a chance to save her? I was certain those thoughts were running through Jack's head as well. There was a slight buzz in my head, then a voice. Oh, hello.
Everyone, it's me. We're aware of what has happened, and... You're to go to Pythia and help Endgame deal with this situation.
Kesa, you and Magnus hanging out and being like, let's do a joint operation. Sounds good.
If they want to stop them, I believe they are going to need the help of our queen ranks. Magnus Ulrich and I have come to an agreement that will benefit both sides.
Look at you guys being all diplomatic and stuff while we're trading blows in the streets. An agreement?
Magnus is communicating the message to his team as well. For the time being, we will work together.
Velly and the others didn't look happy about it, but Jack seemed almost relieved. I reached for his hand, briefly lacing my fingers through his, just to let him know I understood what must be going through his mind. That he wouldn't deal with it alone.
Looks like we've got ourselves a temporary truce.
He gave Jack a long look, then shook his head.
We didn't realize it was her that day.
That's true, because you were fighting her.
She looked so different. And with that mask.
Jack's lips flattened to a thin line, but he gave a curt nod.
Everyone thought she was dead. So it's not like you'd have been looking for her. Her presence here means that it was this Brennan who attacked us in New Albion, seeking Morgan even then.
Yeah, we worked that out some time ago, genius.
We believe that attack to have come from the host. Is he their leader?
The host, eh? A shadowy organization with murky goals. The group known as the Host is thought to have been around for a while, but it's been within the last year that they've started gaining traction, possibly due to the skill of their new leader. Unnamed. They usually pop up when Espers are involved, and many rumors swirl around who they are and what they want. The only thing that is certain is that this group's members behave strangely and have unusual abilities. This has led some to believe they have something to do with F-class Espers. In some circles, rumors swirl about the possibility of some sort of Esper revolution or takeover, though most dismiss these as nothing more than bizarre conspiracy theories. Okay, so maybe Brennan is leading the Host then.
Seems like it. He is a queen rank, but he is capable of controlling the nanosystem.
He nodded towards Vanessa. I realized her prosthetics were active again, perhaps prepared by either Kesa or Magnus.
I imagine Kay's relayed everything he knows about the guy to Magnus. I still want to know how the hell he got his hands on Sylvia. If we get him alive, we'll interrogate him and find out. I'd like to know that myself.
How exactly do we get to Pythia from here?
We've recalled our standby teams. There are several knights among them. We'll have to teleport. Teleporting requires sphere expansion. That means leaving yourself vulnerable to any mind bombs that asshole left behind. By car, it's an hour drive at least. I don't believe we can risk such slow travel.
I can try to do a quick search and disable them.
Disable a mind bomb?
I've never tried it, but I should be able to. Theoretically.
There's no time for that. My sphere is the largest. I'll check for them myself and trigger any between here and Pythia. As a knight, defense is my strong suit anyway. Are you...
But it was too late. I felt the force of his sphere whip through me as he expanded it outward. And expanded it. And expanded it. Holy hell! His range was massive. I mean, Jack had said he could get me to the other side of the planet if needed, but witnessing it firsthand was wild. I wasn't sure I could have kept up if I wanted to. And then it vanished as quickly as it had appeared.
It looks like the way is safe. He did not leave any surprises behind. With the knights we have here and in our standby teams, we should be able to get most of us there in short order. Despite your personality, I forget how reckless you can be sometimes. I prefer to call it efficient. Alright, we don't have time for this. What's the plan for getting our asses to Pythia to walk into this guy's obvious trap?
I can get there in 2 jumps, carrying 2 passengers.
It'll take me at least 5 with the same amount, and that'll wipe my stamina to nothing.
Oh, okay, so you can teleport too.
I can get the Queen's Guard there in a single jump, but it would be a strain to take more people than that with me.
Everyone looked my way, but I could do nothing but shrug. I don't know my range or passenger limit.
Well, it's at least 30 kilometers when you're on your own if we're basing it on your first attempt the day I found you in that abandoned district. It seems then we can leave our teams to our knights and let you divide up amongst yourselves.
There was also the matter of our target area and the fact we weren't sure where Brennan was going. It wasn't as if Pythia was a small city. Magnus and Kesa were doing their best to locate him through the city's surveillance systems, and he wasn't doing anything to stop them. It was decided I would not be teleporting myself or anyone else. I'd ride with Veli. We didn't know enough about my ability for me to chance an impromptu long-distance jump. Endgame was already moving out by the time we got our groups arranged, and my head was left spinning at just how rapidly the situation had changed direction. The idea that it was Brennan's intent troubled me while the others planned our trip. Was this what he meant by playing villain? Giving us a common enemy to make us work together? Was this his way of trying to help us? Forcing Endgame to rely on us so they'd owe us a favor or something along those lines? It was difficult to imagine him sacrificing himself that way. What if he was planning something else? I didn't understand him at all.
Get over here. The closer together we all are, the less the strain on my mind.
I'm coming.